What's good, y'all? So we got Monday's market review underway, and we're gonna go over what I seen today and how I executed. So I took a total of 5 trades. One I feel like was ill-advised, and the other 4 trades, I had like those trades that I took, and just gonna go over the entire day in its entirety, my bias, and how the day actually played out. So coming into the day, I did want to see long positions after. Well, let's go to higher time frame. Let's go to hour. Wait, let's cover. Okay, so blank chart. So coming into the day, I woke up in the morning. By the time I woke up in the morning, we already took out previous days low and last week's lows. I believe that was last week's low. Yeah, so we opened up. We already took out last week's low. So with that being said, and seeing that, I told myself, okay, I want to see some type of, retracement going back and potentially hitting that new day open at 12 a.m. So that's exactly what I was looking for pre-market. And we got exactly just that. And this is our like, better trade management and knowing when to just walk away for the day. Because I was anticipating for these equal lows to be taken. But unbeknownst to me, when that 6 a.m. candle opened, because I'm going to show on my annotations, we had this 4 hour fair value gap formed. And you can see we end up trading into that, and we trade up right into the midpoint. I'm going to put it when I put the rest of the annotations, I'll show that. But this 4 hour fair value gap formed when this 6 hour candle, 6 a.m. candle opened. So that's the open of the 4 hour candle. We traded higher, and you see we got that drop lower. And let's take a look at ES because ES is important too. We're really consolidating on ES, and we did take out previous day's lows. I will say that, but we didn't have the price push like NQ did. But nonetheless, though, we took out these important levels. We can't see it right now, but I'm going to. I don't think I could put that in annotation so I can show all the drawings. But we did take out that previous week's low, and I was anticipating for higher prices. That's what I personally was anticipating. And we did get some higher price movements after 10. We had this nice run. I did catch some of this run. I didn't catch the entirety of it. I caught just a good portion of it. I ended up getting stopped at break even. I had my stop loss somewhere here, and I got stopped at break even. But as you can see, we pushed higher, and we still leaving these highs. So I do want to be mindful of that going into going into the rest of this week. But these longs that I took were really nice. I really like those longs. My entry definitely could have been better because I entered off of this is how I entered. And you just gotta understand these different things in price action. So we had this 1 hour wick here, 3 a.m., and I wanted to see price support this 1 hour wick. And we did. So we didn't get any closer below it, and we started trading higher. So I end up catching all of this run, but I didn't take my profit because, like I said, I'm anticipating for higher prices, these relative equal lows. I really want to see this inefficiency get tapped into. We didn't tap into that. Let's see if tomorrow's London session, not tomorrow's London, tomorrow's Asian session. It's 4:06 right now, so market about to close soon. But we didn't get that in price action today. So all good, that's fine. And it happened, and I broke even. So I did attempt another long as I seen this 15-minute fair value gap holding. I attempted another long. I believe that was also stopped break even. And my mistake for the day, that was my one mistake I would say I did for the day. Very impulsive. I took a buy along because I end up closing my long. I felt like early, and then you see this nice run. We had this small run here, and I'm like, oh man, I'm about to miss the run. FOMO. So we gotta be mindful of where our thoughts are before we make certain actions. So you can see 9:30 open and flushed all the way down. So I took a L on that, and then I took another L trying to catch this inversion on this 1 minute. So we had this closure above. I want to see price trade higher, and we didn't get that. We had one more stop, and then ultimately that's when we started trading higher, or after 10:15. So I told myself after 10:15 I would want to look for longs, and we were holding that daily fair value gap. So we didn't trade into that daily fair value gap. So I have this daily fair value gap outlined, and we're going to be at equilibrium of this price range here. So want to be mindful of any price action at this 50%. I would look for, any potential reversals. So just being mindful of that. This level, I'm gonna show all my annotations. I'm gonna add them. Well, let's add them now. Kind of explained. So this is the price when I measured, and we're approaching equilibrium here. I had an alert for the low of the 4th, so earlier this month. So that low is what I was looking out for. And going back to that hour fair value, hour wick I mentioned, and I could have had better entries because we had some fair value gaps at the bottom. So this is what I was paying attention to, and I marked those fair value gaps at the time of my trading. I marked these fair value gaps. So we had this 1 minute fair value gap here, and these gaps ultimately end up being used again, and we had this nice tap, and I also had, so when I entered at this midpoint of this wick, I was kept in mind that okay, we could potentially trade below it, but I was really paying attention to closures. I was paying attention to closures, and then this 5 minute also. So I could use those as my entry point, and that was well over 100 points, honestly. And then, like I said, we did trade into this 12 a.m. open. So this is 12, and you can see we're right at the open. So we respected these levels, and you can see we reused this gap right here. We had reused that gap. That was a nice gap. And we traded back into these levels, just levels that we consolidated during pre-market. But after that, really just been chopping up. I do want to see these levels get traded into. So the high of this daily fair value gap, and then the low of the 4th, the daily candle on the 4th. So I will be looking out for that and see how price action is reacting. I'm gonna take out some of these levels during this chop. And we also had this fair value gap here, a 5 minute gap. And like I mentioned, we had this 4 hour fair value gap formed, and that was giving the price run. And that's something I just gotta be mindful of. But my target was hit. So I was trying to go for more or extended targets. Could just honestly took a partial here and then see if the market just want to give that run up. But it's all good though. Cause this setup relatedly happens. I don't know how many videos I've done, but this setup happens so many times. You just have to be patient enough to just wait for it and wait for the conditions to align. Some days it doesn't happen. there are days where we don't trade back into it. So also to be mindful of that too. And knowing what the overall bias is for the day. So we've been selling short a lot. So just being mindful of these things. And I had this open too, just so I could be aware of, okay, we opened here, we have some type of manipulation, but we did ultimately end up trading lower. I do want to see us trade into this daily fair value gap and ultimately, honestly, this discount. So 2877, 770, 770. I'm in my words and shit. But that's all for this review. Really, I'm gonna clean up. I'm gonna clean some of this up. Going into the new day. I marked out Asian session last night. If we got in on here, you didn't see price come back all day, so you really could have caught the entire daily range from Asian session. But that's all. Just being more mindful. Today was a Monday. There was no really news. There was no news driver to really push us up into these levels. But we'll see what tomorrow has in store for us. And I will be looking out for this 15-minute fair value gap. I want to see how we trade into it and what time we're trading into it. If we trade into this early during Asian session, we might get a nice run during Asian. But all hypothetically speaking, honestly. But that's all for this review. And until next time, love.